Thank you, Presiding Officer. Yesterday, parents in Glasgow were protesting cuts to teacher numbers. They say they're fighting for their kids' education because these cuts will make it, in their words, impossible for schools to support pupils properly. In Glasgow, over 100 teachers have already gone, and it's proposed that number will rise to 450. Across Scotland, teacher numbers have declined for 2 years running. And a new Scottish Government report, published this week, suggests that the SNP may abandon their manifesto pledge to increase teacher numbers by 3,500. The First Minister made that promise when he was Education Secretary. So will he be honest with pupils, parents and teachers today? Is he going to stick to his promise to increase teacher numbers by 3,500 in this Parliament?
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, the commitments that have been given by the Government in relation to teacher numbers are commitments that have been given in good faith to strengthen the provision of education in Scotland. And I want the Government to work with our local authority partners to deliver on those commitments. But of course, the approach that we take is hugely dependent on the resources that we have available. The Government has obviously taken steps to expand the resources that we've got available to us. If the Government had not taken the tax decisions, for example, it had taken, we would be over £1 billion worse off in relation to the funding that we have available. But I have to answer directly Mr Ross's question about the challenges we face in the public finances due to the pressures of inflation and the persistence of austerity that is framing public expenditure from the United Kingdom Government. But I assure Mr Ross and parents, most importantly in the city of Glasgow and around the country, of the Government's commitment to sustained investment in education and to maximise the investment we can make available.
Douglas Ross.
Of course, that wasn't my question. The question was very specific on a specific pledge, not made by any other SNP MSP, but made by the First Minister. He was the Education Secretary who went to the country and told people, vote for the SNP, trust me, and we will increase teacher numbers by 3,500 in this Parliament. And if I'm not convinced, I don't think any parent, pupil or teacher will be convinced with that answer from John Swinney today. We were supposed to have a different style of politics, but it sounds like the excuses are the same as we've had before. And sadly, John Swinney's record in education is one of broken promises. He introduced a flagship education bill that could have improved standards, then he abandoned it. He promised a free laptop to every child. That never happened. 3 years ago, the SNP said that Education Scotland would be reformed. Nothing happened. The government he served in promised the SQA would be replaced. It's still there. So on teacher numbers, can he just give a straight yes or no answer? Is he going to stick to his own pledge to increase teacher numbers across Scotland by 3,500 in this Parliament, or will it be more of the same broken promises from John Swinney and the SNP?
First Minister.
On the question of education delivery, let me just put a few things on the record of what this Government has achieved. When we came to office in 2007, 63% of children and young people were being educated in good or satisfactory buildings. That figure today is 93%. 93%. It's a transformation of the educational estate in Scotland. We have allocated £145 million to support the recruitment of teachers in partnership with local government. So these are some of the things that we have delivered. The reform programme in Education Scotland and in the Scottish Qualifications Authority is being implemented. But obviously these are issues that I've just come back into office, so I'll be looking very carefully at the progress that's been made in this respect, because I've not been on this front bench for 12 months or so, so I'll be getting much closer to all of that. But on the question of the commitment to 3,500 teachers, I want to be absolutely clear with people in Scotland today. We face very significant financial pressures in Scotland in our public finances. So the perspective on the public finances has deteriorated because of the effect of austerity, because of the cuts that have been made in public expenditure, and also because of the very significant inflation that we have had to wrestle with, which has resulted in teachers, for example, becoming the best paid teachers in the United Kingdom as a consequence of our decisions. So the Government will take forward its programme within the resources that are available to us, but I have to make clear to people, to be straight with the public, which I will be, that public finances are under enormous pressure, and we will set out our commitments as we take our budget decisions.
Douglas Ross.
I'd quite like John Swinney to be clear and straight with this Parliament and just answer a question. I'll ask it for a third time and hopefully get a response. John Swinney, as Education Secretary, made a pledge to voters across Scotland that vote for him and vote for the SNP, they would increase teacher numbers across Scotland by 3,500 over the course of this Parliament. Is that going to happen? Yes or no? A clear and straight answer from John Swinney is what's needed, because he has been Education Secretary in a previous government. From 2016 to 2021, he was Education Secretary of Scotland. And during that time, education was supposed to be the SNP's top priority. They wanted to be judged on education. But when he was in charge, Scotland's schools and the results therein fell to record lows in the OECD's PISA rankings. These tests measure performance in maths, reading and science, and on all three, Scotland's scores declined substantially when John Swinney was Education Secretary. So why did Scotland plummet down international school league tables on his watch? And for the third time, and hopefully getting an answer, will he say to the people of Scotland, is he going to keep his promise to increase teacher numbers by 3,500?
First Minister.
I've nothing really to add to what I've said to Douglas Ross about the financial position that we face, because the financial position is acutely challenging and difficult, and it's different to the position that we faced in 2021 and back in 2016. So, because of there has been a rampant increase in inflation on the watch of the Conservative government.
Let's hear the First Minister.
And if inflation rises, and this is elementary arithmetic, Mr Hoy, and we're going to have to go through some elementary arithmetic to help you out here with the understanding the answer. If inflation rises by 10%, the value of money available to spend reduces. So I want to make sure we've got a well-supported and substantial teaching profession, but I have to live in the real world of the public finances available to me, despite the fact that the Conservatives oppose every single tax change we have made to boost the public expenditure that's available in Scotland. So the Government will take these decisions in the proper course of its budgetary process. But can I just say to Mr Ross, when I was Education Secretary, teacher numbers rose. They were higher. They rose during my term in office as Education Secretary. And one of the things I'm most pleased about, and I can't claim all the credit for this because my successors have delivered this since 2021, record positive destinations are being achieved by young people in Scotland, and that's a tribute to the strength of the education system in Scotland.
Douglas Ross.
John Swinney wants to give credit to his successors as Education Secretary. We have 250 fewer teachers in Scotland in just the last 2 years. He's not being straight with the public about whether he agrees or not with his own promise to increase them by 3,500 in this Parliament, but we know already They're going down. Teacher numbers across Scotland are falling under an SNP government. And I'm sorry, John Swinney is reaching out across parties to seek consensus and working together. Some of that has to come from him. He's got to be honest. He's got to give a straight answer. And I'm going to ask for the 4th time today, will he, as First Minister, commit to the promise he made to the people of Scotland to increase teacher numbers by 3,500? It is not difficult to say yes or no. Explain why it's no, but tell people, be honest and say he's not going to do it. Because as Education Secretary, John Swinney went from one failure to another. His implementation of the SNP's Curriculum for Excellence was a mess. And he's smiling at that. It was a mess, Mr Swinney. He was at the centre of multiple SQA fiascos. Again, it's not something to laugh about. He broke promises to improve the exam system. He was supposed to close the attainment gap entirely, but he failed. He damaged Scotland's international reputation for education. For 16 years, John Swinney has been at the heart of a government that has let down pupils, parents and teachers. Now he's the head of that government. What's going to change?
First Minister.
Well, certainly what's not going to change is the script that we get from Douglas Ross every single... So let's just talk about some of the achievements that were made in education today on the most recent data. Record levels of literacy and numeracy attainment at primary school and improvements in secondary were recorded in the Curriculum for Excellence data on the 12th of December. There is a record low attainment gap between the proportion of pupils from the most and the least deprived areas achieving the expected levels in literacy and reductions at secondary level. Again, the Curriculum for Excellence level data on the 12th of December. In the summer of 2023, we had the highest ever number of passes at National 5, a tremendous achievement by the children and young people of Scotland, and a record number of vocational and technical qualifications that were achieved. In 2023, higher and advanced higher pass rates were higher than those achieved in 2019. So I am going to be straight with the public of Scotland. I'm going to tell them it the way it is. So I'm going to be clear that we're under enormous financial pressure. And my government is going to have to come to Parliament with information about the challenges we face in the public finances, and we will be doing that in due course. I've only been the First Minister for 48 hours, not even 48 hours, but we'll be coming to Parliament to be straight about the challenges that we face. But I'll also be straight with the people of Scotland about the successes that this government has delivered and which we're very proud of.